I know you're tired. I know your body feels heavy, your mind feels cluttered, and your heart feels worn down. I know some days you wake up and wonder how much longer you can keep carrying the weight. You've pushed, you've stretched, you've sacrificed, and somewhere along the way it feels like life has been pulling more out of you than it's been giving back. But listen to me right now. This is not the time to stop. This is not the time to fold. You have to keep going. You see, exhaustion doesn't just test your muscles, it tests your spirit. It doesn't just press on your body, it presses on your identity. Life is asking you a question. How bad do you really want this? How much are you willing to endure for the life you said you wanted? Because anyone can move forward when they feel fresh, energized, and full of hope. That's easy. But champions are made in the moments where nothing in them wants to take another step, and they still move forward anyway. I know it feels like you've been running uphill forever. I know you look around and sometimes think, why me? Why can't it be easier? But I'll tell you why. It's because the version of you that's going to rise out of this storm is not the same as the version that walked into it. Growth demands pain. Transformation demands struggle. You are being broken down right now not to be destroyed, but to be rebuilt into someone who cannot be shaken. And I get it. You are emotionally drained. The disappointments, the setbacks, the failures, they pile up. It's like taking hit after hit until you wonder if you've got anything left inside. But you do. You still have fire in you, even if it feels like a flicker. That flicker can light a blaze if you protect it, if you feed it, if you refuse to let the winds of doubt blow it out. You have to tell yourself, this is not where I quit. This is not where my story ends. This is where I prove to myself that I'm stronger than I thought. See, fatigue lies to you. Fatigue tells you you're done when you've got miles left in you. Fatigue whispers that you're not enough, but the truth is you're more than enough. You just haven't tapped into that reserve yet. Every time you think you've hit your limit, your body and mind have more to give. That wall you feel pressing against you, it's not the end, it's just the beginning of the next level. You've got to remember why you started. You've got to anchor yourself in that vision that was so clear in your mind when you first said, I want this. I need this. I'm made for this. Don't let temporary pain blind you to permanent possibility. Don't let exhaustion rob you of destiny. You have to fight through today so that tomorrow you can stand on the ground you once only dreamed of. Yes, you're tired. Yes, you're drained, but guess what? Tired doesn't mean finished. Drained doesn't mean defeated. You can be exhausted and still unstoppable. You can be broken down and still rising. You can feel empty and still pour out greatness. The difference between the people who quit and the people who win is that the winners keep moving no matter how they feel. They refuse to surrender. They refuse to let circumstances dictate their outcome. So keep going, one more step, one more breath, one more push, because every step you take, no matter how small, is proof that you're not done yet. You're building momentum, you're building resilience. You're building a story that one day you'll look back on and say, that was the moment I refused to give up. That was the moment I became unstoppable. Exhaustion is not the end, it's the test that reveals who you really are. It's easy to move forward when everything feels light, when your body is energized, when your mind is clear, and when the path ahead feels smooth. Anybody can keep walking when their legs aren't heavy, when the air is fresh in their lungs, when their heart is filled with motivation. But life isn't about the easy walks. It's about the uphill battles, the days where your body screams for rest, the nights where your mind won't stop replaying doubts, the mornings where getting out of bed feels like lifting a mountain. That's the moment where exhaustion sets in, and that's the moment where character is revealed. Because who you are is not defined by how you act when things are easy. Who you are is defined by what you do when everything inside of you wants to stop. Exhaustion has a way of stripping away the surface. It removes the mask, it peels away the shallow motivations, it leaves you bare with nothing but your true desire. When you're tired, you can't fake it anymore, you can't pretend. You either want it or you don't. You either commit to pushing forward or you fold under the weight. That's why exhaustion is the great revealer. It shows you and everyone around you what you're truly made of. Because in that raw state, when the energy is gone, when excitement is drained, only one thing remains, your will, and it's your will that determines whether you keep going or whether you stop. You see, exhaustion doesn't just test your body, it tests your heart. It's not only about muscle, it's about spirit. A tired body can still keep moving if the heart is on fire. A drained mind can still find focus if the vision is clear. But when the fire dies, when the vision fades, that's when people give up. That's why exhaustion is not just physical. It's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual. It presses on every part of you at once, demanding to know if you've got what it takes to keep going. And the truth is, most people quit not because they can't, but because they don't believe they can. They confuse fatigue with failure. They think being tired means being finished, but it doesn't. Being tired means you're human. Being tired means you're pushing your limits. Being tired means you're in the exact place where transformation happens. Because change doesn't happen in comfort zones. Change happens when your legs shake, when your lungs burn, when your mind screams for you to stop, and you keep going anyway. That's where resilience is forged. That's where greatness is born. Exhaustion is a mirror. It reflects your true hunger back to you. If you're not deeply connected to your purpose, exhaustion will break you. But if you are, exhaustion becomes fuel. You start to see fatigue not as a wall, but as a signal that you're moving beyond what you thought was possible. You stop seeing it as the end and start seeing it as the doorway to the next level. Because that's all exhaustion really is. The body telling you you've reached the edge of what you thought you could do. And right there, in that edge, lies the chance to discover more inside yourself than you ever imagined. When you push through exhaustion, you prove something to yourself. You prove that you're stronger than your feelings, stronger than your doubts, stronger than your excuses. You prove that you can operate on a higher level than the average person. Because average people quit when they're tired. The uncommon ones, the relentless ones, the ones who achieve what most only dream about. They keep moving even when it feels impossible. That's the difference between those who stop at the edge and those who break through it. So when exhaustion hits you, don't see it as a signal to stop. See it as the test of who you really are. Ask yourself, am I going to let this define me, or am I going to define myself in the middle of it? Because every great story, every great victory, every great success was written by someone who refused to let exhaustion be the final word. They used it as proof, as validation, as confirmation that they were on the right path. And in the moments where it felt unbearable, they found within themselves a strength they didn't even know existed. That's why exhaustion isn't the enemy. It's the opportunity. It's the training ground. It's the place where you separate the talkers from the doers, the dreamers from the achievers, the wishful thinkers from the relentless warriors. And if you can endure it, if you can embrace it, if you can see it for what it really is, then you'll realize it was never the end at all. It was always the beginning of who you were meant to be. Champions are built in the moments when every part of you wants to quit, but you keep moving anyway. It's easy to look powerful when the lights are on, when the crowd is cheering, when the circumstances are in your favor. It's easy to keep going when your body feels strong, when your emotions are aligned, when your energy is high. Anyone can perform when everything inside of them agrees with the goal. But the true test comes in silence, in the dark, in the moments where there is no applause, no recognition, no reward. That's where champions are made, when your legs are heavy, when your lungs burn, when your mind tells you to stop, and you decide to go one more step anyway. This is where the separation happens, the line between average and extraordinary. Average people listen to their feelings. They let fatigue dictate their future. They quit when it hurts. They stop when it's inconvenient. They bow out when the struggle grows uncomfortable. But champions, they've trained themselves to override those signals. They understand that pain is temporary, that exhaustion is a liar, that discomfort is not a stop sign, but a green light. They know that greatness is not about what you do when you feel good, but about what you do when you feel like you have nothing left. Every champion has a story of struggle. None of them became who they are by gliding through comfort. They became champions because they learned to keep swinging when their arms felt too weak, to keep climbing when the mountain felt endless, to keep believing when doubt was screaming in their ear. These defining moments are not glamorous. They are raw. They are ugly. They are filled with sweat, tears, and pain. But those are the moments that forge an unbreakable spirit, the kind of spirit that refuses to be denied. Think about it. Anyone can run the first mile of a race. The real question is who keeps running when their chest feels like it's about to explode. Anyone can push through the first few setbacks in business or life. But who keeps going after? They've failed 10 times, 20 times, 100 times. Champions are not built by their victories. They're built by the countless times they could have given up, but didn't. They're built by the resilience to stand tall when life tries to knock them flat. It's not the victories that shape you, it's the resistance. The resistance molds you, shapes you, defines you. That pull of fatigue, that pressure of failure, that weight of doubt, that's the gym your character is trained in. Every time you resist the urge to stop, every time you push 1 inch further when your mind is begging for relief, you strengthen the muscle of discipline, the muscle of resilience, the muscle of willpower. And those are the muscles that champions rely on when it matters most. You don't build a championship spirit in moments of comfort. You build it in the trenches, in the grind, in the lonely hours. When you're working while the world sleeps, you build it in the mornings when you drag yourself out of bed even though your body aches. You build it in the nights where you stay focused while others waste their time. Those little choices, repeated over and over, create a habit of perseverance. And that habit of perseverance creates a champion. Most people wait for motivation to carry them, but champions know motivation is fleeting. Champions rely on commitment. Champions rely on discipline. Champions rely on the decision they made long before the struggle showed up. That's what carries them through. Because motivation can vanish in a moment, but a decision made from the core of your being, a decision made from your deepest why, that becomes unshakable. When you reach that breaking point, when everything in you wants to let go, that's the exact moment you're standing at the door of greatness. Most people turn back at that door because it feels too heavy, too painful, too demanding. But the few who lean into it, the few who push it open, they find out that what was on the other side was everything they ever wanted. Champions understand that the pain of discipline is always smaller than the pain of regret, and regret lasts a lifetime. So those moments when quitting feels like the easiest option, when stopping feels justified, when giving up seems reasonable, those are the moments that define you. That's the proving ground. That's the place where the title of champion is earned not by words, not by dreams, but by action. And the ones who push through, the ones who keep going anyway, they rise above the rest. They become the example. They become the standard. They become unstoppable. Fatigue lies to you. It tells you you're done when you still have miles left inside. When exhaustion hits, it has a way of convincing you that your limits are closer than they really are. Your body starts sending signals of pain, your mind starts whispering doubts, and suddenly everything in you is urging you to stop. But here's the truth. The feeling of being finished is rarely the reality. It's simply your mind protecting you, trying to keep you safe, trying to keep you comfortable. Fatigue is not a reflection of your true capacity. It's a trick, and if you believe the lie, you'll stop short of discovering how powerful you really are. Think back to times in your life when you thought you couldn't go any further, but somehow you did. Maybe it was a long day where you believed you couldn't finish the task, but you found a way. Maybe it was a workout where you thought your body had nothing left, but you pushed out another rep. Maybe it was a moment of heartbreak or loss where you thought you couldn't survive, yet you're still standing today. Those moments reveal something important. The first voice that tells you you're done is almost always wrong. Beneath the surface of fatigue lies another reservoir of strength you haven't tapped yet. Your body is capable of far more than your mind often allows it to show. Psychologists call it the governor effect. The idea that your brain puts a limiter on your body's performance to protect you from what it perceives as danger. But that limiter is not your actual limit. It's a safety net. Fatigue shows up and convinces you to stop. It's usually because you're approaching the edge of your comfort zone, not the edge of your capacity. And the people who learn to push past that comfort zone discover an entirely new level of performance. That's where champions are made, not in absence of fatigue, but in their refusal to believe its lies. Every great achievement in history has required someone to go beyond the point where they felt finished. Athletes who run further than they thought possible, leaders who work tirelessly through adversity, creators who continue shaping their vision long after the inspiration fades. These are people who understood that fatigue is not a wall, it's a mirage. It appears solid, but once you push against it, it dissolves, and suddenly you find yourself moving forward again. The key is to question that voice inside that says you're done, to challenge it, to ask yourself, am I really at the end? Or is this just discomfort trying to control me? Fatigue also teaches discipline, because when the lie shows up, you have a choice. You can accept it and stop, or you can call its bluff and keep going. Every time you choose to keep going, you train yourself to separate feelings from facts. You begin to understand that just because you feel tired doesn't mean you're powerless. Just because you feel drained doesn't mean you're defeated. The mind and body may scream, but the will has the final say. And when the will speaks louder than fatigue, progress happens. Think about the people who quit too early. They stop believing in themselves. The moment fatigue whispers, "That's enough," they never find out how strong they really were, because they trusted the lie more than their own potential, and because of that, they live with regret. But those who keep pushing, those who go one more step, one more mile, one more round, they unlock strength that would have remained hidden forever. They discover not just what they can do, but who they really are. They realize that their limits were never as close as they thought, that fatigue was simply a curtain covering the stage of their true power. Fatigue tells you to stop, but the truth is that most of the time you're only at about 40% of your capacity. There's still 60% left inside you waiting to be unleashed, but you'll never touch it if you give up too soon. That's why people who achieve greatness are not the ones who never feel tired, but the ones who refuse to let fatigue dictate their destiny. They understand that the body breaks down, the mind grows weary, but the human spirit can outlast both if the will is strong enough. So the next time fatigue tells you you're done, remember it's not the voice of truth. It's the voice of limitation. It's not there to define you, it's there to challenge you. And if you choose to push through, if you refuse to accept the lie, you'll discover that you had far more inside of you than you ever believed possible. Don't let temporary pain blind you to permanent possibility. Pain has a way of filling your vision until it's the only thing you see. When you're in the middle of struggle, when you're hurting, when the weight feels unbearable, it's easy to believe that the pain is all there is, that nothing else exists beyond it. Pain screams louder than hope. It drowns out the future and magnifies the present until you lose sight of why you even started in the first place. But pain, no matter how sharp, no matter how overwhelming, is temporary. Possibility is permanent. The dreams, the goals, the vision you carry, those are not fleeting. They remain waiting on the other side of discomfort, waiting for the moment you decide not to surrender to what hurts right now. Every person who has achieved greatness has had to confront this battle. They faced nights where the tears blurred their vision, days where the setbacks felt endless, moments where they questioned if the fight was worth it. And in those moments the pain seemed so real, so constant, so consuming. But what separated them from the ones who quit was the ability to look beyond the pain, to remind themselves that what hurt in the moment could never outweigh what would be gained in the future. The pain was temporary. The possibility of the dream fulfilled was forever. Pain lies. It convinces you that it will last forever, that you'll never heal, that the struggle will never end. It narrows your focus so tightly that all you see is the discomfort in front of you. But if you step back, if you zoom out, you begin to see that pain is just a season, not a sentence. It's a chapter, not the whole book. It's a moment in time designed to prepare you, to refine you, to strengthen you. And when you understand that, you stop letting it blind you. You stop giving it more power than it deserves. You learn to endure. Not because you enjoy the pain, but because you recognize what's waiting beyond it. The truth is, possibility doesn't vanish because you're hurting. The opportunity for greatness doesn't disappear because you're tired, broken, or discouraged. It's still there. It's still waiting. What often vanishes is your perspective. Pain distorts the lens you're looking through. It makes you forget the reason you began the journey. It makes you lose sight of the mountain you set out to climb, focusing only on the rocks under your feet. And in that distortion, too many people give up. They trade a lifetime of possibility for a moment of relief. They quit on their future just to escape the discomfort of the present. But those who break through, those who keep going despite the pain, they discover that the reward was worth every ounce of suffering. They realize that the strength they built, the resilience they developed, the lessons they learned during that pain shaped them into someone capable of handling the success they were chasing. Without the pain, they wouldn't have the capacity to hold onto the blessing. Without the struggle, they wouldn't appreciate the victory. Pain may feel unbearable while you're in it, but it's not just an obstacle, it's preparation. It's shaping you into the person who can fully step into the possibility you're chasing. When you allow temporary pain to control your decisions, you shrink your future to the size of your discomfort. You rob yourself of the life you were meant to live. You let a passing storm convince you that the sun will never shine again. But storms pass, nights end, pain heals, and what remains is the possibility you either fought for or forfeited. You have to decide if the temporary sting of discipline, rejection, failure, or struggle is worth giving up the permanent joy of achieving what you were created for. The people who endure are not the ones who never hurt. They hurt deeply. They feel the pain like anyone else, but they make a choice not to let it blind them. They choose to lift their eyes from the ground to the horizon. They remind themselves of what's at stake, of what's possible, of what they promised themselves when they started. And because they hold that vision higher than the pain, they keep moving forward. They realize that the hurt they feel today will fade, but the impact of quitting will last forever. Pain is temporary. Possibility is permanent. And when you refuse to let what hurts right now steal what could be forever, you put yourself in the position to experience life at its fullest, richest, most powerful level. You can be tired, drained, and broken down, but still unstoppable. If you refuse to surrender, there's a difference between feeling exhausted and being defeated. Too many people confuse the two. They think because their body aches, because their mind is heavy, because their heart feels bruised, that it must mean the fight is over. But the truth is, being tired is just a condition, not a conclusion. You can be on your knees, you can feel like you've got nothing left, and still be dangerous, still be powerful, still be capable of moving forward if you decide not to quit. The human spirit was built to endure more than we can comprehend. Your body can adapt. Your mind can reframe, your heart can recover. But the one thing that determines whether you rise or stay down is not the exhaustion. It's your decision. Will you allow the weight to pin you to the ground, or will you take one more step, however small, just to prove to yourself that you're still in the fight? That's what unstoppable looks like. Not perfection, not constant energy, not never feeling broken. It's the ability to keep going in spite of it all. Some of the greatest victories in history weren't won by people who felt strong. They were won by people who felt weak but kept moving anyway. They weren't overflowing with energy, they weren't overflowing with confidence, but they had grit. They had that relentless refusal to surrender. That's the defining quality. Because talent fades without perseverance, intelligence cracks without resilience, strength disappears without determination, the people who win in the long run are not the ones who never feel tired, but the ones who choose not to let tired stop them. Think about how many times you thought you couldn't make it through something, but you did. How many times you felt like the day would break you, but you stood back up. How many times you thought the challenge was too much, but you found a way through it. That's proof. Proof that you are stronger than the feelings that tell you otherwise. Proof that being drained does not mean being done. Proof that broken down is just a temporary state, not permanent label. Unstoppable isn't glamorous. It's messy, it's sweaty, it's full of moments where tears mix with determination, where your mind screams no but your heart whispers yes. It's in those moments that the decision is made. Will you fold or will you rise? Will you listen to the voice of fatigue, or will you listen to the voice of purpose? Because purpose will always be stronger if you choose to hear it. Being unstoppable means separating how you feel from what you're committed to. Feelings fluctuate. They shift with the weather, with circumstances, with setbacks. But commitment, that's a decision you lock in no matter what. You don't need to feel strong to act strong. You don't need to feel ready to keep going. You don't need to feel whole to move forward. You just need to make the choice that no matter how drained you feel, you won't let it be the reason you stop. Some days, unstoppable looks like big leaps, massive progress, undeniable growth. Other days, unstoppable is nothing more than crawling forward, inch by inch, refusing to retreat. Both count. Both matter. Both prove that you are not controlled by exhaustion, but by determination, and over time, those little pushes, those small acts of resilience, they add up into something unstoppable. Because consistency in the face of fatigue is the breeding ground of greatness. When you refuse to surrender, something shifts inside of you. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance. Start seeing yourself as a force, as someone who dictates outcomes instead of being dictated to. You begin to realize that pain, tiredness, and even feeling broken are just conditions of the journey. They are not roadblocks, they are milestones. And each time you pass one, you prove to yourself that you are unshakable, unbreakable, unstoppable. So yes, you will be tired. Yes, you will feel drained. Yes, there will be days where you feel broken down, but none of that defines you. What defines you is your refusal to give up, your decision to keep going, your ability to push past what others would accept as the end. That's what makes you unstoppable. That's what separates you from the rest. That's what turns ordinary struggle into extraordinary strength.